I wish someone had told me this earlier. That's why I'm doing this video more than anything. I wish someone would have guided me in the direction of what to do and how to discern what not to do from what I should be doing, from what everyone else tells you in the academic world that your path to success looks like, versus what feels good to you to do. Because when you can merge what you enjoy doing with what pays you, with what serves others, you've got your career sorted. So being able to believe your own intuition and follow that path by faith, not by sight, is when you can reach that true epitome of happiness. Welcome to Devoted to Extraordinary. My name is Julia, and I am a feminine virtue coach. The 7 deadly sins and the 7 lively or heavenly virtues. It is what gives energy that God is. God wants us to really use our energy for good. And what drains our energy is the opposite. That's the devil. It's really those words in your mind that are rushing you to do this and do that. It can be faster, whereas God is still there in the morning and he's quiet. When you have the motivation to be the person who creates the energy, who brings your best forward, and who gives space to what you are feeling no matter what, is when everything in life turns into what is accepted instead of what is fought, which is precisely what can sometimes drain energy, is thinking that it should be a different way. So I'm here today to tell you what those 7 deadly sins are versus what the 7 virtues of heaven and liveliness can become. Because the difference between vice and sin is that you're leading a life of vice for constantly sinning, whereas the little sins that we do every day are ultimately human, and you need self-compassion. Today is the first, last, only, and best day of your life. Doesn't matter what's happening around you, what circumstances are occurring in your life, you are not them. And you can realize that, and you take a deep breath and decide, this is not who I am. This is just part of my story. I think it's daily contentment to truly wake up every morning and say, today is the first day of my life. I'm gonna make it like it's the first day of my life. That's how I'm gonna treat today. And what about the perspective of it being my last day on earth? How would I taste the mango that I'm eating? How would I walk to the beach? How would I feel the sand on my feet? How would I swim in the sea? It would all mean so much more. And what if it was the only day on earth? What if it was the best day ever? Why do we only reserve that for birthdays or whatever it may be? Why do we think that we need to slot that into not today? How can I make today the best day? If you can change your questions to actually say how, then your brain will figure out how to make that happen for you. Now here's a really big thing, is none of us actually strive to be humble. What we strive for is the fruits and the outcomes and the resources that we get from becoming humble. You might have heard that parable of, I asked God to give me riches, so he gave me an opportunity to be of service. And that's very much along the lines of what I'm showing you here. If you want the fruits of humility, you are to reject pride. That is the first and foremost. Sin versus virtue is pride and humility. Pride really is the head of all the sins. To be prideful means that we put a block between who we are and what God wants for us, because we think we need to control that outcome. And if I asked you now, have you controlled every single step of your life, or has there been things that have happened along the way that have led you to only live better and to have better opportunities and to have met someone who led you to a really good success story? Nothing has happened all by your own accord. It has been very much enmeshed with God's plan for your life. Having the humility to take a step back and say, I want to see through God's eyes who I am and live up to that every single day. That is the most humble you can be, because it gives you the capacity to accept things as they are. Pride is very much the ego that is protecting what needs to be protected. But if you trust someone, they're usually within your heart gates. I like to call it that, because even a sanctuary has a boundary, otherwise it won't be safe. So in order to hold your heart and keep it the way that it is, you have a boundary around it. But the people who you love, you don't need to protect yourself from, not if you're loving each other right. Pride can really build those walls up and keep even the people you love out, and it's unnecessary. So that's where humility comes in, not only with our physical people around us and our relationships with our loved ones, but mostly with God, and saying, how do I need to be today? What do I need to do? What do I need to prioritize? Teach me. And to have the humility to step back, to step down, and to be led, even for men. When God is above us and when God is between us in relationship, it only gets better. If you want the fruits of gratitude, reject envy. Envy is jealousy. It's seeing someone else and wanting that life. It is saying, you don't get to have that because I don't get to have that. Instead of, you have that for me to see that opportunity and for me to grasp it for myself, for me to ask you how you got there, for me to learn from that and follow you in that way, and creating more expansion and creating more energy ultimately. Gratitude is seeing everything as an opportunity and as an invitation. It is saying thank you for what is already here, for acknowledging that you already have it. Because it is those who don't have that are only given less, and it is those who already have that are given more. Pride and envy are at the top of the list for what not to follow in order not to harden. Ultimately, we want to be able to be soft. As women, to have the strength it takes to be soft is everything we could ever ask for. And to be able to discern when to be soft and when to be hard with our boundaries, even in a feminine way. It is possible to have boundaries in a feminine way. You don't have to be too hard. But just to remain yourself and to know when to speak up for yourself. But when pride and envy are in the way, there is no way for us to do that. We must remain humble and remain in gratitude, knowing that we have everything that we already need, even if it means all I can do, because I don't have anything else, is pray. I have the chance to pray. So we do have everything that we possibly need. If you want the fruits of patience, reject wrath or anger. Anger is one of those that are very hard to stave off if you're a person who has been hurt at all in the past. But anyone who doesn't acknowledge that they can be angry can very easily be passive aggressive or have patterns of an incapacity to consciously be aware of that anger and therefore translate it into speaking boundaries clearly, into feeling what the annoyance is, because that's what anger ultimately is telling us. It's where our boundaries lie and what we need and how it is that either we can meet our needs or how we need others to help us meet our needs in those relationships. So it all has to do with communication. And in order to bite our tongue in any circumstance, we have to ask for patience to come in. We have to embrace the virtue of patience, because what that ultimately does in an argument and any dissonance in a relationship is it gives us the chance to remediate it. Even if someone else has said something that hurts you, if you could just pause instead of retaliating immediately, it gives them a chance not only to perhaps clarify what they meant instead of you fighting back, but also to notice what it is that they might have said that hurt you, and for that to really linger between you. And then it allows for them to self-correct. And if you've noticed, you've held your energy. You haven't changed that energy into something else. You haven't needed to even drain your energy in any kind of way. And you haven't moved out of perfection. Perfection being a wholeness. Not perfection in an ultimate beauty, pristine, idealist kind of way, but perfection in that every single one of us is already perfect because we are whole and complete as we are. So you do remain whole and complete by holding your energy and just biting your tongue for a second. If you can count to 10 seconds, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, I promise you probably by 6 they would have said something. So it's a very good way of being patient, of acknowledging wrath, of acknowledging that anger that comes up, and then you can always take that anger, that trigger, and not only perhaps communicate it if you're ready to, but journal on it until you can, and acknowledge for yourself why it is that you have that trigger in that moment, And in this way, we can be more resilient in our capacity to remain calm under any circumstance, which is the strongest thing that we could ever develop. That, and of course, a strong relationship with God. That's beautiful, as if we can really develop patience. Next, if you want the fruits of diligence, reject sloth. So sloth is laziness, or even just the incapacity to bring yourself to do something if you feel like you don't want to, if you just don't fancy it. And it's a very scary thing because it's very easy to fall out of what you promise yourself you will do. Diligence is doing the thing that you said you would do and doing it often, even if you don't feel like it, because it means that you're showing up. And that is all you can be judged by. And by judged, I mean held accountable for by God. Not only other people, even though, of course, they'll also take you at face value for what it is you're doing and who it is that you are, because you are what you do. We are our habits. We are what we do. So if we don't write every single morning, or if we don't help out at volunteering once a week, even though we say we will do it, we're not only hurting people who we're promising those things to, because what we say is a promise, it's an agreement, but ultimately we're hurting our self-trust and who you let into your life and who's going to be close to you and who isn't, and how you're going to do things, decision making, making everything an act of your heart, putting your heart into everything. Delve into flow. That's where the magic happens. It's when you're doing what you enjoy and you just lose track of time. Diligence is exciting because it's like sowing a seed and planting it and watering it and putting it in the sun every single day over and over again. And before you know it, you look back after a month and you've got a whole plant, and it's beautiful to say, hey, I grew this. So I challenge you to really decide one thing that you're going to do every single day this month. Comment below what it is that you've done after the 30 days. I'd really love to know. If you want a life of charity, the fruits of charity, reject greed. Charity is the ultimate value for Christian life. Charity, if you didn't know, in the King James Version of the Bible, is what 1 Corinthians 13 talked about love. It actually was the words charity before, not love. God said, love him above anything of this world, and then serve your people. Galatians 5 says, do unto others as you would like done unto you. That is the golden rule. And for any empaths out there, I know you'll probably say, I've been doing unto others as I want done unto me, and it's not returned. Well, teach other people how to treat you. And in that, there is charity, because ultimately we must be charitable to ourselves in order to fill up the cup of somebody else. Charity is giving. If you're in a funk, if you're feeling off, if you go and serve someone else, you'll immediately feel better. To nurture the capacity to help others is the ultimate virtue of love, because love, even the Greeks, they have 8 different words for different types of love between different relationships in different stages. And in English, all we use is love, and it's a very general and universal term for what can at times be quite specific. To be able to use the word charity instead of the word love is a blessing, because we can understand, okay, I need to help, I need to serve, I need to be of service for someone. And when you can say, what can I do for you, to somebody else, or how have you been, that it can truly change someone's life. If you've heard of the concept of paying it forward, to do well for 3 people, and then they do well for 3 people, and then they do well for 3 people, it just spreads like a web across the earth, and it's a beautiful thing to pay it forward. So I ask you to go give to someone today. If you see anyone in need, I saw a poor man the other day, and you never know what someone's going to do with money when you give it to them. So I much prefer to go and buy him a bottle of water or some food or something. But at the time, I wasn't in a position where I could get up, being at a cafe, and doing that for him. So I promised myself after he walked away, I said, the next man or woman who I see who needs money, I'm going to give it to them. It doesn't matter what they're doing or what I might think they might do with that money. They need it. And I did. There was another family singing on this very populated street, and that's what they do because it's what they can do with what they have, for money, for a livelihood ultimately. So I gave them some money. I stopped. I had my headphones on and I thought, no, what did I say? I said I would give money. So I went back and I gave money, and I have the chills just thinking about it because another man saw that and he went and gave them money as well. It's just an incredible thing to be able to give, because not only are you giving and you're receiving good feelings, but you're inspiring other people to do it as well. So to be charitable, not expecting anything in return, ultimately gives you a true sense of joy. And we must reject greed to do this. Greed ultimately is wanting to keep everything that I have for myself, not wanting to share it, not wanting to do more, not thinking that the more the merrier. What you're saying is, I don't have more than what I have. And what do you do when that runs out? I know that I am the kind of person who, if I lost everything tomorrow, I would be able to rebuild it by the end of the year. I know that I'm the person with those qualities, but there are people who are greedy, who want to hold on to everything they have, who might have been given lots of what they had, because they don't inherently believe that they are capable of being that charitable person and of growing into who they need to be to get what they already have again. Do you operate in abundance, or do you operate in lack? And lack is ultimately a lie, because we all live in abundance. If you want the fruits of temperance, reject gluttony. So gluttony is very much consumption. What it might be defined as is eating too much, gorging on food, drinking too much. And yes, that is definitely not something to live by, because we don't really need as much sustenance physically as we think for energy. It's actually very spiritual. And temperance is to take things slowly. It is to go steady. So as they say, create more than you consume. So to be able to be temperate in your outgoings of your energy, to be able to steadily assess, and this is where discernment comes in, where do I need to do more and where do I need to let go? Where do I need to accept and say yes to something, and where do I need to say no? Whereas gluttony is yes, yes, yes to everything, and it becomes a chaos that can drain your energy, because you lose who you are. When you can't say no, and when you can't place boundaries where you want them to be, then it's very easy to get lost in the gluttony of life, because distractions are rife in this world, in this modern era. It is unbelievable the amount of focus that can get misplaced, and focus is energy. Your temperance in your world, in your life, means that you're going as fast as the slowest part of you. That's a really good quote, and I don't know who said it, but my sister first said it to me. And to be able to go as fast as the slowest part of you is to be temperate, because you know that your steadiness, your reliability, and God ultimately is with you every step of that way. If you want the fruits of purity, reject lust. Now, I love that this is the last one, because purity is what you get in the totality of all of these together. I think you become a pure heart, a pure soul, a pure person when you can reject all of these sins, and when you can accept and nurture all of these virtues. You become the highest version of yourself when you're able to keep that vitality high, when your energy is held within you, and when it's in your heart, really, when you're able to be in flow with music and dance if you want to, and express yourself any way you want to, and have fun with the things that you want to do, and not be afraid of it all. And to reject lust is ultimately so vitally important. Of course, this is very much about physical intimacy. If you are lustful, then you'll go for anyone, anything, anytime. Like, it is chaos. To be involved with other energies that you don't know, whereas purity is knowing your worth, knowing your value, knowing what it is that you have become because of everything that you have nurtured and accepted. Knowing that not everyone out there is pure, that a lot of people are sinful, a lot of people are lustful, and not everyone deserves your time and your energy in that way. To be pure is to really keep those gates closed a lot of the time, and to notice that there is evil in this world, and to actively deny and reject it, and go on knowing, with your head held high, with your shoulders back, with a smile on your face, that you're enjoying the most pure capacity that life has to offer, because you are that energetic being and you are the woman who says yes to all those virtues, who says yes to everything that you know is for you, to what aligns with your values. You're meeting your needs, and you have the habits that build a very healthy and prosperous life for yourself. It really is down to who you are and what you do. So remember, today is the first, last, only, and best day of your life. Go ahead knowing this. I help you embody every capacity that you have and are in the eyes of God. So if you want to know more about this, click the link in the type form in my bio and apply, because I am giving away 1 month of free work with one woman, and I'm so excited to meet you.